What if I tell you that the most important work you're doing right now is the work that nobody sees? No applause, no social media likes, and maybe no proof that whatever you're doing is even working. You see, most people think that success is loud and visible, but there is one Chinese expression that will completely change the way you look at success, and that expression is 日积月累. In just 4 characters, this expression reveals the power of consistency in helping you achieve whatever you're trying to achieve in life. And that is what we are talking about today, the quiet power of consistency. I have to tell you, friends, the reason why I picked this topic is because it's actually something that's very personally important to me. Because I remember that in my early 20s, I really was chasing after outcomes. I feel like between the ages of 22 and 25, I really thought that I needed more titles. I needed to go to grad school and, be some sort of a more important person, have a more important degree in order to make an impact. I applied for different kinds of masters. In fact, I applied for 3 different kinds of masters, and I even applied to med school. And the funny thing is, when I think back, I feel like one of the best decisions I made was I did go into a master's program for like 1 semester, and then I quit because that really was not what I wanted. It really did not feel personally meaningful at all. And the second thing that I believe was a great decision I made at the time was that I did get accepted into med school, and I declined the offer. Or else today you'd be calling me Dr. Crystal. But the fact is, I've always wanted to make my own channel. I've always wanted to teach the things that I want to teach. I've always wanted to create something that's at the intersection of art, culture, humanities, language. Deep down, I've always felt like a teacher of some sort, and these are kind of the things that you cannot escape from. Who you are at the core, it will come out in whatever you're trying to do. No matter if you're trying to go to a master's, you're trying to become a doctor, who you are is gonna come out at some point, and you're gonna be like, oh damn, I didn't know I'm like that. So yeah, in that period of my life, I was really trying to chase after degrees and outcomes. And even when I did start an Instagram channel at that time, trying to do food photography, because I'm also very much into food photography, I had a feeling that I was always kind of looking for some traction in the likes, the subscribers, and things like that. It was almost like taking me away from the process of actually learning to, first of all, cook very creative dishes, but also taking the time to refine my photography skills. So the focus was really just on the outcomes. Ever since I started this creator journey, I've talked to quite a few entrepreneurs, and a really common pattern I noticed is that a lot of them feel like they have to post on social media, whether it be on LinkedIn, on Instagram, or wherever they're trying to be very active, right? They feel like they need the metrics in order to stay relevant, in order to gain exposure, to be known, to be seen, right? Like to really reach the people that they're trying to reach. And it's a sentiment that I really do get. I really do understand that, because if you have something valuable to give, you want people to see you as someone who's trying to offer that kind of value. But I feel like there's this underlying anxiety that if something is not seen, then it's not important. It's almost like whatever you're doing, even the progress that you're trying to make, if it's not visible, then it's not important. And I really want to challenge that belief. I really want to challenge that, because if so much energy is being spent on chasing after the outcomes, the metrics, trying to stay relevant, then what energy do you have left to work on what actually matters, right? The inner transformation, the work that's supposed to be done in silence, in the quiet, the work that's supposed to be incubating, transforming yourself from the inside out. And then when you bring it to the world, then it becomes undeniable. And this is why this topic matters so much to me, because I realized at some point how consistency has basically transformed my life in so many different ways. And I look back, I'm like, wow, the best things that has ever happened to me in life were done in the invisible. Nobody saw my progress. Nobody saw all the effort I put in. Nobody saw how consistent I was in sticking to having that vision there and really trying to go after it one little step at a time. Nobody saw it, but that was what mattered at the end. And 日积月累 is actually an expression from the Song dynasty, which is about 940 years ago. And it first appeared in a very, very classic, infamous Chinese historical text called 资治通鉴. And if you ever ask a Chinese person from mainland China, they are most likely going to know about this book. That's how famous it is, even if it's from like 940 years ago. And the author wrote the book actually to teach emperors at the time on how to govern the country in a very efficient way. And I want to pull out a phrase from that book which contains the expression that I'm trying to bring to you today. And in that section, we have this phrase, 先帝于大成，好为行迹，小过皆含容不言，日累月积，以致败祸. So that's what I find quite interesting with the Chinese language. Basically, in like one sentence, it tells you an entire historical story. And this is actually talking about the story of an emperor who was a people pleaser. And in order to keep a surface level good relationship with his ministers, basically, whenever a minister made a mistake or had a misconduct, he never criticized them, he never pointed out their mistakes. And over time, right, the word 日累月积, over time, the accumulation of mistakes and misconducts eventually led to the downfall of his kingdom. A little side note, in Chinese language, sometimes like we can play around with the characters. So 日积月累, the expression that I'm bringing to you today, versus 日累月积, the expression, the original expression that was found in the ancient text, you see that some characters have switched places, but the meaning stayed the same. And this is the first very important point that I want to share with you today, and that is external outcomes fluctuates. External outcomes are not within our control, whereas consistency compounds behind the scenes, and consistency is within our control. And it's very interesting because I feel like a lot of people believe that the reason why I can speak French fluently, French is my third language, by the way, people believe that I speak French fluently because I have a talent. But let me tell you something. When you are out partying, or you're home scrolling on your phone, or you're watching a Netflix show or whatever, when you are chilling, did you know that I was up early, 6:30 in the morning, reading French, taking notes, writing French, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, learning French? I don't believe that talent is the only thing that we're looking at. And this is something that's come up again and again. People believe that other people are doing very well because of chance, because of talent, because of money. I cannot speak for everybody, but I can definitely tell you that the time I spent on learning French, grinding through the plateau period where I felt like nothing was changing, my French was not improving, my grammar still sucked, I was still making an effort every single day to at least to write something in French, learn at least a few new vocabularies, and maybe even use those vocabularies with colleagues, with friends, with people. And eventually I got to a point where I suddenly realized that I was able to speak it fluently. But that was after like a few years of basically swimming in the plateau period of feeling like nothing I was doing was even working. No progress, or my progress was so slow that it just felt very insignificant. But guess what? It paid off. Now I work in French completely. And I also definitely see how consistency pays off in my own clients. So I work as a consulting dietitian in my day job, and it's like a 1-hour consultation each time. And I definitely give quite a lot of nutrition related recommendations, right? Like if you have high cholesterol, pre-diabetes and whatnot. We talk about the different things that they can be doing with their physical activities, their diet, their food habits, their eating habits. And usually the people who are very consistent, I am able to see the results in their blood work. It is no surprise that someone who really decided to change their diet for the better by eliminating or reducing massively their soda intake, their sugary snacks, desserts intake, and reducing buying takeouts, like you see it. The pre-diabetes disappeared, high blood pressure disappeared, cholesterol goes down tremendously. okay? And that's the power of consistency. And those who don't, those who are not able for whatever reason, right? I feel like this is where we really have to understand it case by case. Blaming, shaming never really helps anybody. But objectively speaking, those who are consistent have the best result. And by the way, the struggles I went through and the lessons I learned during my period of time as a new dietitian, learning French without much outside help, I wrote about in my newsletter. I really wanted to use the newsletter as a way to really tell you the most meaningful stories, and hopefully you can take those stories in and they become fuel for transforming or inspiring changes in your new life. So if ever you're interested in joining me on this journey of reconnecting both with the Chinese culture and Chinese language and going deeper into all of the wisdom found in Chinese language, definitely go check out my newsletter, go into the description in this video and go and sign up, become a subscriber. Now, the second point I wanted to mention in terms of how 日积月累 as an expression applies to our modern life is that consistency sounds very easy to do. It's simply repeating something over and over again until you master the skill or until you feel like you have improved. But why is it that a lot of people don't put in the effort? I have a feeling that there is this subconscious fear of failure. When you're putting in the work, you don't necessarily know if it's going to produce the results that you want, if it is going to make you feel a certain way about yourself, right? Like, are you gonna be able to do it perfectly? And this is the second point that I want to share with you. It is that imperfect iterations are far more important than perfect execution. I mean, that's basically how I learned French, and that's basically how I learned English. English is my second language, so this is why I can speak Chinese, because Chinese is my first language. That's how I learned the two languages. In reality, I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. I made a lot of embarrassing grammatical mistakes, and I still remember in my first year of speaking French on a daily basis for hours at a time, my clients were literally correcting my grammar mid-sentence sometimes, okay? At the time, it felt embarrassing sometimes, but at some point I just developed such a thick skin that I actually just appreciated my clients for correcting me, because that really did help me learn a lot faster. But basically, yeah, like, making mistakes is important. Making mistakes is inevitable. You cannot learn a new language without making mistakes. And sometimes you just have to put yourself out there. You're gonna repeat the same mistakes a couple of times. But the importance was that I really got to practice a lot of the times imperfectly. And one last thing is that I feel like people avoid putting in the effort because the excuse is that talents are responsible for someone else's outcomes and success. You hear all the time, like, oh, this person is so gifted in her singing or their arts, or this person is so gifted in math or whatever skills, right? Whatever that makes this person have a great reputation in a certain area. But I can tell you this, as someone who has been labeled talented in certain things, talents alone don't do anything. And in fact, talents can consume you. Talents are, in my understanding, a very concentrated source of energy that wants to be expressed, that wants to be almost like channeled into something. So you can be incredibly talented in an area, but if you don't have the capacity, the resilience, and the perseverance to harness and store this talent, this concentrated energy, then the talents are gonna either consume you or overwhelm you, or it is just gonna go to waste. But that's a topic for another video. I'm not gonna go off tangent too much. And finally, just to bring home the message of the quiet power of consistency, of letting things grow, even if it is not visible, even if it's away from the public's eye. I'm just gonna share one more expression with you. So just now we talked about the already very ancient expression 日积月累. Now I tell you another one that a lot of Chinese speakers would use, and that is 台上三分钟，台下十年功. And what that means literally is that you can have 3 minutes of amazing performance on stage, but what people don't see is the 10 years of efforts that you put in to really master your craft in order to be able to put on that amazing show, or that amazing presentation, or launching that amazing product, right? People see that final 3 minutes on stage. The message that I wanted to convey with these Chinese expressions and the power of consistency is that please don't let the lack of visible progress discourage you. Because being consistent is you voting for yourself day in and day out. You're depositing into your skills bank, you're depositing into your knowledge bank on a daily basis, which means the results are inevitable. It's inevitable. I do have many other stories to tell regarding how consistency has changed in my life. So if you enjoyed the video and you got something out of it, please do subscribe. And I invite you to come on this journey with me to reconnect not only with Chinese culture, but something much deeper. And I will definitely be sharing more stories along the way. And definitely leave me a comment. How has consistency changed your life? Or how have you practiced consistency in your own life? So that's it, friends, for today. Stay tuned, stay excited for more meaningful contents. Bye for now.